I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light, and one of my favourite things to do is to hunt down hidden secrets and stories and lore in video games. Baldur's Gate 3 has a mountain of discreet details that you can miss if you don't like to explore as thoroughly as I do. And it got to the point where I had found so many that I just really wanted to tell you about them. So here are 21 Baldur's Gate 3 details that you may have missed. Right at the beginning of Baldur's Gate 3, you could pick up a bottle of suspicious poison. It looks uncannily like the basic health potion, and to me, this looks like a reference to the health potion you could tinker with in Baldur's Gate 2. In Baldur's Gate 2, you could poison a health potion and give it to any friends you were playing co-op with who would drink it thinking it was a normal health potion. Devious, yes, but quite funny. Deep in the Underdark, you can find an arcane tower. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss. In its grounds, there's a grave belonging to the dog who once roamed its halls. Dig the grave up, sorry puppy, and you'll find a collar. Put this collar on, then go to the first floor where there's a button on the tiles. Press it, and you'll get a raw steak. Kind of like a wizard version of an automatic pet feeder. Also useful if you're running short on camp supplies. The very start of Baldur's Gate 3 has you recruiting followers like Lysel and Shadowheart fairly quickly. Most of us had our first long rest when at least Lysel was in our party. However, if you have a solo long rest, there's a little surprise for you. A cutscene will play about your past and the parasite, with special details for Githyanki and Drow, which I will not spoil here. Below the goblin camp behind a waterfall, there's the tortured notes written by a love-struck goblin named Clagger. Who is the subject of their affections? Minthara, the drow true soul. In one letter, he laments that he can't compare her to the moon or stars because she lives underground. He mourns the fact that he can't compliment her best scabs and boils because she has none, what them to have, and ends up planning on putting some dead spiders in his hair to impress her, as she's a drow but she has forsaken lol, so spiders aren't very sacred to her. I'm gonna assume that he never summed up the courage to confess his love, as I suspect Minthara would not have reciprocated. Outside the Waning Moon Tavern there's an outhouse. Inside said outhouse is a miserable skeleton with its head in its hands on the loo, and in its inventory is an antidote. It looks like their last moments were spent trying to get rid of an upset stomach by purging their guts from the other end. Plus, there are loads of rags around for wiping and a key, although clearly they saw no need to lock the outhouse door for desperate times. Above the ogres in the old schoolroom of the Blighted Village is a hidden stash. Go up on the roof, then into the room in the corner. Under a loose plank is a drawing and a birthday note from Amanda to her, hopefully soon-to-be wife, Flora. Amanda is the teacher at Moonhaven before it became the Blighted Village, and unfortunately I doubt she survived the onslaught of hobgoblins, goblins and ogres. She notes the attendance of Moonhaven's children in her classes and slowly realises entire families are going missing, probably abducted by the necromancer working in the alchemy shop. I can't be sure of her fate, but if you think you know, please do let me know in the comments. Underneath the Rythwin toll house, there's the remains of a family hiding out in the basement. Probably hiding from the Dark Judicious War, this family had children with them too, as there are stacked alphabet blocks and teddy bears beside the skeletons. Thankfully, I can't see any child-sized skeletons, but I really wouldn't put too much hope in that. Underneath his finery, Malthus Thorm's skin is stitched together with metal plates and wires, indicating he's probably been tinkering with his own anatomy when he doesn't have a patient to torture. Oh, sorry, I mean operate on. His outside hides the corrupted body hiding underneath. The opposite is true of Thisobald the Distiller, who hides almost nothing. The tubes feeding into his brewing barrel come from inside his stomach, and he also somehow has 4 legs and a tail, like a centaur. I don't know if he was like this before he was transformed into an undead, but I really want to know. Outside the House of Healing, there's a locked tomb with a sarcophagus that has boots of feigned death inside. Along with this, you can find a diary of someone who wants Ketheric to be stopped, and it looks like they may have pretended to be dead to escape the fighting, but were locked in their tomb, and so kind of ended up dying of starvation anyway. Okay, Westworld spoiler coming up. Skip to this time if you don't want to hear it. Ready? The automaton, Bernard, found at the very top of the Arcane Tower, is a reference to Bernard from Westworld, who was revealed to be a machine rather than a human. If you know, you know. Raphael has 666 hit points. Should have seen that coming. Surprisingly, the roof and rafters of the House of Healing has multiple secrets. First, there are 2 nests, one built using an invisibility potion, a teddy bear and a ball, and another with a harpy feather and half a skeleton, with precious gems and a mud mephit wing. Perhaps these were created by magpies with a peculiar fondness for child's toys? Near the second nest is a pair of lovers, reduced to bone, leaning against each other on a single bedroll with a book of poetry. So sweet and so dead. The command that Kagha in the Emerald Grove issues her snake companion Tila means draconic for step down.
Tila to me!
All around the House of Healing, you can find potions of sleep, used as a broad anesthetic for patients before Malthus Thorm forbade it. It looks like the nurses were using alcohol to disinfect wounds because there's so much of it around, but their jobs weren't all bad. You can find a betting pool record where the nurses would see if they could guess what they'd find inside people's rectums. Going back to the Arcane Tower, you may have noticed that if your character sits down on a particular stool, they comment that it feels strange to be sitting on it. Smash said stool, take the leg of it from the debris, and you can actually use it as a magic weapon. Sleight of hand proficiency is usually utilised to stop someone from stealing from you or to pickpocket, but it has a more podiatric use in the goblin camp. When you run into Novice Crusher, you can choose to kiss his feet to placate his inflated ego. With proficiency in sleight of hand, you can actually steal his toe ring, and I don't want to know how you did that. Was it with your lips or your fingers or... God, I don't know. It's described as being caked in mud and grime, but smells faintly of lavender. Remarkable, considering where it's been. If you wear it on your toe, or your finger once you've disinfected it, it gives you +3 meters to your movement. Manage to open the 30 dice check safe in the Wraithwind Toll House, and inside you'll find the reason it was so well locked. It used to house an alive person, presumably trying to survive the old battle. They weren't successful though, because although they sealed themselves in with water and supplies, some of which is still left behind, they probably suffocated to death due to the safe's airtight seal. Or they ran out of food. It made for a very secure tomb though, at least. A river runs through the Underdark that harbours a sad secret. It has carried a note all the way from the Emerald Grove to the depths. Written by the silent Donnie of the Tiefling Refugees, he's trying to get a message to his father, who is presumably dead, though Zevlor has wisely decided to keep that fact from the child for now. Donnie writes that he thinks the druids are mad at him because he stole some paper to write on, and how he read that all rivers find their way back to the Styx. So he thought that if he threw his letter in the river, it would eventually make its way to his dad. Poor Donnie. In Baldur's Gate, you can find a trader stood beside their overturned cabbage cart. This references a very unfortunate cabbage vendor in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but where the really nifty detail comes in is only uncovered if you're a monk. He warns you to stay away from his cabbages because Aang in Avatar is an airbender, a nomadic monk society. There are loads of special details at your camp if you look hard enough, namely in the tents each companion sets up. Karlach has a knitted teddy bear named Clive. Astarion, ironically, has a mirror, even though as a vampire he has no reflection, beside an empty blood bank jar. Will has an abacus matching his studious personality. Gale has a ball and bowl beside a small cushion, which implies he has a pet. Lastly, Lysel mounts the heads of certain enemies you kill. I spotted a hyena, which would have turned into a gnoll, an ogre, and a mind flayer, as well as a salvaged dummy made of junk that looks like a mind flayer. Lastly, the True Love's embrace rings might sound sweet, but they're actually pretty dark. These rings are meant to be a pair, and share the warding bond spell, which splits the damage that one wearer receives, sending half the damage to the other wearer. Inside the husband's diary, which is accompanied by the ring, whose wife Miranda wore the other ring, you find out that Miranda proposed to him with the rings, which he did not know were enchanted. She would go off to battle, and upon her return, the husband would start to have strange wounds appear on his body. He had no idea that this was because the damage Miranda had sustained was affecting him in turn. Off he went to the House of Healing to seek help, despite Miranda warning him not to, blaming his affliction on stress. I don't know how open wounds can be caused by stress, but then again, I don't live in Faerun. It seems like the nurses realised that the ring was making him the subject of a warding bond, but as by then Malthus had banned nurses from helping anyone who wasn't a Dark Judicia, they sent him on his way. Sadly, in his earliest journal entry, the husband writes that he knew Miranda loved him in the end, implying Miranda may never have had much affection for him, instead using him to save herself from dying in battle. Dick move. There you go. Those are 21 tiny details in Baldur's Gate 3 that I absolutely love, and that you may have missed. If you spotted any more, please do let me know in the comments, or on Twitter or Blue Sky at Zoe_Dells, and I may do a follow-up video if I also find enough. But if not, thanks so much for even watching this far. Make sure you subscribe to Eurogamer and like this video for more Baldur's Gate 3 videos from yours truly, Zoe Delahunty, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm going to go and keep searching for secrets in Baldur's Gate 3, so I'll see you folks next time.